if you listen carefully, then you have seen a lot of elements that we just discussed passing by. The presentation of the ambassador was focusing around 3 frequently asked questions about the rise of China. Is the situation in Asia comparable to the situation as it was in Europe just prior to World War I? In other words, is it likely that a war will evolve from Asia? That's the number 1 question. Number 2 is China a threat to its neighborhood? And number 3 is, how do we maintain peace and stability within Asia? And the ambassador talks about these elements. First, is the situation in Asia indeed comparable to Europe prior to World War I? Is the situation between China and Japan the same as the situation as it was between England and Germany in World War I, or France and England versus Germany? Actually, this is not true at all. The fact is that Asia is very stable. There is a lot of peace, development and cooperation, and he emphasized this with 3 S's: stable, shining and solid. Stable is there is a policy of peace and development of relations with, for example, Russia and the US. This is very much focused on the 3rd element: pacify the region. Then shining, economic growth. It is estimated that the growth in Asia will be twice the average of the world's economic growth in the years to come. Number 2. And 4th is solid, cooperation, institutionalized constitutions developed by China. And so basically China is cementing its international status as a contributor to regional peace. But there are also challenges. There are national disasters, cybersecurity, but the most important challenge is history, the denial of the past. That could be a destabilizing risk, and this is what we discussed about creating a common enemy, nationalism, in order to cement, to create unity. So in this presentation, the ambassador clearly singles out Japan as a common enemy to the rest of Asia, and uses the fascism as a common cause that Asian nations need to be aware of, and the risk of militarization of Japan. He does that doesn't only do it once, he does it twice during his presentation. So we can see that here China sees himself within the grand strategy. Okay, economic growth is necessary because the region needs us. We need to make sure that there's peace and stability in the region, and they also use a common enemy for that, and they are cementing the international status. Then the role of Asia in the neighborhood, and then becomes a little bit flowery about the China and the neighborhood diplomacy. It's like a big family. Asia is like a big family. Build relations of trust and lasting friendships. And how does it manifest itself? For example, through the Silk Route investments and regional infrastructure development in Myanmar, Pakistan, which means that China is actually willing to share. They're sharing their wealth, they're sharing their technology, their people, in order to develop the region. So this is clearly a sign of a peaceful initiative by China. Safeguard peace and stability, maintain peace by engaging in conflicts in the region, for example in Afghanistan and in North Korea regarding the nuclear proliferation and involvement in UN operations, China has clearly projected its voice and its influence. So it's also actively helping to maintain stability and create bridges of friendship, bringing people together, NGOs, people who are involved in government. What they want to do is they want to export the benefits of the Chinese dream, of the fruits of the economic growth. They want to bring that to the region. Third, how does China remain peace and stability? By strength. A strong Asia is a prosperous Asia, and stable Asia is a peaceful Asia. We have to be very much aware, and then again he's making reference to Japan and its ally United States, that they they're forming a serious threat. Japan should show sincerity, he says. Japan has to earn the trust of China. It's not only that they should acknowledge, they have to earn the trust of China and the rest of Asia. And the international community should be on high alert towards the the militarization of Japan. Win-win cooperations. We should engage in peaceful negotiations, not zero-sum solutions. Zero-sum solution means that whatever I win, you lose, or vice versa. So that means that there is, if there is $100 on the table, that whatever I take is less for the other side. But win-win negotiations, that means that the sum of the negotiations should actually bring more benefits to both sides. And they said we have to be careful that and still be aware of the fact that we have stability and peace in the region. Other countries trying to hype the security threat that China poses, trying to hype and build and instill fear in the people, and trying to militarize their countries in response to the threat that China poses, like for example the United States. This is not in the best interest of Asia. This is not in the best interest of Asians, because China will never give up its interest. The grand strategy is all posed about protecting your national interest. China will not give up its interest, and we are willing to negotiate win-win. Our door is open, but don't try to drive a wedge between China and its neighbors. And third, China belongs to the Asians. Or Asia belongs to the Asians, I mean. Concerted effort, outsiders should try to not try to invigorate instability. Do not gang up on China. The alliances that the United States is building, the security pact with, for example, Korea, with South Korea, with Japan, with other nations. Do not try to gang up with China. We also want a stable and peaceful China. So you can see a lot of these elements coming back in the presentation of the ambassador. And so if you look at the points here, and if you look at it from the eyes of the Chinese, I don't know how seriously they believe in every word that they are saying, but they say, okay, they're not so much focusing on their internal security, because this is an external presentation. But if we look at the number 2, 3, and 4 as part of the Chinese grand strategy, we need economic growth for the region, not only for ourselves. We are willing to share with our neighbors. We want to keep peace and stability. This is in the best interest of China, this is in the best interest of Asia. And we want to take a position that will enable us to exert our influence, the influence that we deserve. So it's not in itself, if you listen to it and you look at it from the Chinese perspective, it's not in itself aggressive at all. Keep the national rejuvenation, prosperity live of friendly terms with our neighbors and take the global position we deserve. That's basically, I try to summarize that.
Who says? What do you mean we deserve?
Take the position that we deserve. That is basically what, Chinese effort. Yes, because of their economic role that they play, because of their the number of people in China, they are underrepresented in UN bodies and in other international bodies.
You can this word from video?
No. Dus I try to summarize and give the global. This is just my summary of their grand strategy.
I don't know what I mean.
We deserve means that China is currently China.
Okay.
So this is keep the national rejuvenation. That means that we have to maintain the Chinese dream and to realize the Chinese dream, prosperity, wealth, live on friendly terms with our neighbors, and take the global position that we deserve to, so cement the international status. So, but what does it look like from the eyes, for example, of the United States? Do they see that these efforts of China through the same? Do they have the same perspective on this Chinese diplomacy? Well, if you look at it from the United States, it should be no surprise that what the United States sees as, for example, pacifying the region, the United States sees this as a direct replacement of the United States as the primary power in Asia. They say, okay, this is not just a way to pacify the neighbors. This is a direct challenge to the United States in order to protect, in order to take over the role from the United States. They also see this as an attempt by China to weaken the US alliance with partners. We see this on several occasions. What China is saying, Asia for the Asians, but what the United States reads is they are trying to weaken our alliance by, for example, making investments in Myanmar, in Pakistan, and other places. They are directly trying to weaken our relations, undermine confidence of the Asian nations in the US, credibility, reliability, and power. Is the United States really going to stand by Japan, by South Korea once there is a conflict? Use economic power to pull Asian nations closer to the Chinese geopolitical goals. What they're saying is that, okay, China is handing out money, but it comes at a price, a geopolitical price. What the United States is seeing that the increased military capability is aimed directly at the United States. It is aimed at deterring the United States against military intervention. China is also trying to undermine the belief in the United States' economic model by putting its own economic performance and showing that to be superior to that of the United States, to ensure U.S. democratic values do not diminish the party's domestic power. And so the United States is trying to, China is trying to counter for example, human rights issues, and to avoid a major confrontation with the United States in the next decade. This is what they see as the Chinese grand strategy, which looks much different from the American eyes compared to Chinese eyes. China is saying, okay, we are merely trying to grow the economy. We are merely trying to maintain peace and stability in the region. We are merely trying to claim equal representation in the international bodies. The United States sees these attempts as a direct threat to the position that they hold in Asia, and they see this as a direct challenge of the United States, and therefore they feel inclined towards response. What they are saying in the United States is that the United States has been cooperating with China, that they have been accommodating China, hoping that Beijing would gradually come to accept the United States' leading role in Asia, because cooperation was less expensive than military intervention, than using strength. But China did not evolve into a responsible stakeholder. So they were given the freedom, but they did not take this opportunity to become a responsible member of the international society. Beijing instead has used the United States approach to the rise of Chinese power to strengthen its domestic economy, and thus holding the Communist Party in power, enhance the military capabilities, and increase the diplomatic and geo-economic sway in Asia and beyond, all while free-riding the international order and public goods provided by the United States and its allies. So what does that mean? China took the freedom and enriched itself, built up its strength, became a threat to the United States, and used the international institutions that were basically provided by the United States without actually contributing to them. So they used the system to grow themselves, to become stronger, and to challenge the United States without actually contributing to that system. So the United States, what it's saying is that our approach actually has led to the growth of China, and China didn't give us anything back in return. They have not become a full member of international society. What they are saying is actually we can no longer just allow them and give them the freedom and let them go their way, because they will keep on challenging us and challenging our role within within Asia. What they are saying is that the grand strategy of China, the way that China is behaving internationally, is a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. So the question that I would like to discuss for today's discussion, is China's grand strategy indeed peaceful, or is it not peaceful? Are the attempts, is the international policies of China, does it have peaceful intentions, or does it not have peaceful intentions? Is it what they are seeing? Would you, if you were Chinese, perceive this to be peaceful or not peaceful? Sasaki-san.
Okay. The word of peaceful is very difficult to define, because if China, their own strategy is peaceful, they think, but the other country they do not think peaceful of China's grand strategy, because the meaning of peaceful for China is to expand their land or their area of the country until they hope to get. But it is.
Do you mean that literally? So do you mean by actually military intervention, or do you mean
including the military
military intervention? Okay.
And the current situation for China, China may think it is not correct for China, because they think, for example, the South China Sea islands should be owned by China. But the fact is different.
The fact.
Fact is.
I'm going to try to defend the Chinese position here today. So I will be China. You will be.
Other countries. So other countries around China, including the United States, hopes to stay the current situation, not to be occurred by, for example, military action or foreign conflict.
So does China.
China hopes so because they want to realize their own intention to get more area.
Well, we're merely claiming what is already ours, but has been taken unlawfully by others. We are like China. We are merely claiming what is ours. Like the South China Seas, this is Chinese territory. It's a historical fact.
No. Okay. But the peaceful meanings to look for the solution. For example, the foreign competition or something. But China seems to fight to realize their own China's own intentions.
Well, we are not fighting. We are trying to protect our territory.
Protect. You say protect, but for other countries, your action, China's action, does not seem to be protect, but expanding China's border for until China will be satisfied, and we don't see which area is the we see that China's intention would be limitless, as other countries see.
So you think that once we take control of our own South China Sea, then we will try to move on to other parts of Asia, maybe towards China, but even towards the United States?
Yeah, South China Sea, for example, South China Sea is not your own, but it is not already not yet defined who should rule the area.
But we are actually working on that. So we're making, for example, agreements with Brunei and other parts to create win-win situations where we can engage in joint exploration, and it's okay.
No, but there is different opinions. For example, from the Vietnam and China, yet that's not yet to agree with their.
There are different opinions, but I think that China is right in their claims, so that they are historically speaking we are entitled to this part of the South China Sea.
If you say historically speaking, China must be admits the Takeshima Island to Japan, because Takeshima Island have ruled by Japan from the 1978.
No.
Why?
No. If we look at a different part of history, we have a rightful claim to the Takeshima Island. Depends on which time you care to look.
From our point of view, your way of claiming it's only just rhetoric to realize their intention, because we cannot see the policy, one policy to explain for various foreign issues. We see that China only just aiming by the way of to satisfy your intention, and we cannot see the policy or your stances to solving the conflict with your neighboring country.
Actually, so our policy is very simple. We are trying to create win-win solutions with our neighbors.
What is you are with me?
We bring peace, stability, and economic growth to the region by not escalating these conflicts. So what we propose, what we bring is money and infrastructure, so that the region can benefit from the Chinese dream, the growth of China. So we don't need this kind of like, okay, this is either ours or it's a historical fact. So we are willing to negotiate, but not in this kind of like through this militarization and upbuilding of tension in the region. We want to create stability in the region. So it's not necessary to engage in conflict like this. We want stability just as much as the rest of Asia wants.
The meaning of the stability of yours is only just ruled by the China, right? We don't hope to do it. We don't only just hope to economic growth, but our protect or holding our own territory.
So we have to give up our territory in order to appease our neighbors.
Yeah.
That cannot be the truth.
Because you are very
because
big
we have
don't need the territory, right?
we have an historic right to these islands. They are clearly ours. It's clearly Chinese.
Right. You say right, but other countries also say they have own rights. And so you have to see.
So therefore, we want to engage in negotiations. That's bilateral negotiations. That's that's good.
Yeah, negotiation is a very good thing. But you take a military action, or you construct leagues of the natural oil or something without the other country's agreement, and so that kind of action seems to be not peaceful for other countries.
I think this is very important issue is Japanese, like Sasaki, is not so well good negotiator against China or against the other advanced negotiating skilled countries. I think we should not oppose opinion against those China. Japanese is very honest country, and they try to straight more. Try to speak out what they think. And this will not accepted by the other Chinese or Western people. We need more. Okay, this is China grand strategy peaceful. Of course, yes, peaceful. This is of course Japanese diplomacy. Diplomat need to answer like this. Like an ambassador saying, none of Japanese ambassador can speak out that sort of good presentation. So this is the reason why. In the history, Japanese diplomat was so isolated against from the rest of the world, because Japanese very honest and very poor to speak out, and very almost bullshit sort of opposed opinion they are speaking out. This is not good. Of course, China grand strategy is so peaceful. I have no against you, okay? Then they're going to speak out, okay, this is our region, our territory. Of course, you have the right to speak out your territory, but this is considered for the, some freedom for, traveling all over the world. Even include Southern China Sea, we can pass it through. Any kind of ship we can go through. You're talking about 12 nautical miles, you try to get out of any kind of shop. How come you speak out? If you try to focus on peaceful, it should be peaceful, right? So discussion Japanese should do. None of those can do that, right? You get mad, get angry.
This is actually, right? This is
that I think Naga is very good for speaking out discussion.
So right? In negotiations, you always have to be like bamboo. So you have to sway with the wind, and then in the end you need to come back. But if you immediately go into push, then you're going to.
I'm a very few person against China's ambassador. None of Japanese diplomats can against him. Okay, none of those. This is very poor to speak against him. Everybody believes what he's talking about. Japanese militarism, no kidding, right? Even including economists, Financial Times. All journalists never think about Japanese militarism. No, none of those thinking about that. Okay, you just neglect it. You don't need to any opinion against sort of his speech. Okay, just neglect it. Everybody accepts Japanese not in militarism. Okay, so Japanese is always get mad against militarism, business, whatever. No, we don't need to talk about that. Okay, this is very important. This is the issue. But we are insufficient. Why I'm organizing this seminar? This is the reason why. You need to carefully listen what he said, right? This is very important. This is not only the China, not only the America, not only the British. Every other country, we are more carefully to how to handle with those people, right? None of the Japanese can. Oh, you're going to do business with the American people, British people. Always must be careful to how to cooperate with each other. They're going to speak out peaceful. Of course, you are peaceful. Not peaceful, but you should say peaceful. This is a diplomacy protocol, right?
We get trained actually. When I joined my first job at the bank, we actually got through a number of days training to actually engage in these kinds of debates and discussions with customers. When customers make a statement, then always you need to just agree and go with the opinion of the other side, and then gradually you just come back.
So your customer against you. Okay, you offer the price, your quality and delivery. No, kidding. They're going to tell you, but you need to. Okay, I understand what you said. But Japanese people always tell the truth, Tell the truth, the price is very suitable price. What about you? No. Okay, maybe expensive, maybe go to so and so. Just, first step you try to reaching a bridge. Japanese cannot reach a bridge. This is Japanese problem. Oh, okay. I don't deny, Japanese people opinion. I accept you, but all foreigners can be acceptable what you're talking about. Right? This one. Right?
Nagai-san, what do you think? Is China's grand strategy peaceful or not?
As long as there are military terror of China for Asian countries, in my opinion, China grand strategy is not peaceful.
So you don't see.
In my opinion, this is sent to you.
Yeah.
In my opinion, each nation should manage on the basis of value-oriented national policy. As you know, value-oriented diplomacy, which is this diplomacy emphasizes on universal values. In this case, universal values means freedom, democracy, human rights, the rule of law and the market economy. In my opinion, this diplomacy is most important in our region. By the way, China government doesn't recognize this philosophy, this diplomacy. This diplomacy display. China insists on contribution on Asia and Eurasia region by one belt and one road global policy. But it will be difficult to manage AIB as long as China continue to keep their current values, not value-oriented national policy. This is in my opinion.
So, two things that I would like to add to that, contribute to that in response. I don't feel that our Chinese military is offensive. They are not threatening. They are mainly protecting their own interests, protecting their own borders. We are not aggressive. We are defensive in nature. We don't try to coerce anybody. And when you say that global universal values are about democracy and freedom, those are not global values. Those are Western values. Those are values that are adopted by that are put in the banner of the United States. Those are values that are also trying to destabilize China. We are a peaceful nation. We want to coexist. We believe in win-win situations. And why should we try to create a black and white situation where the world is actually gray? There is not really complete freedom within the Western system. There is the power of money, there is the power of coercion. We also have our challenges, but we want to live peacefully. And therefore we don't believe in a universal applicability of democracy. We believe in humans. We believe in China as a nature that cares for its citizens. And we are not trying to dominate the world as the West has tried to dominate the world in the past. We just protect the interest of our people.
Yes, the Chinese military is defensive, but why you make it planning to make an aircraft carrier? Aircraft carrier is very offensive military power.
But because we have a very serious negative power balance, for example, with the United States. They have many more aircraft carriers than we have. They are cruising just in front of our borders. Do we have to accept the fact that they can threaten us anytime they want? We are so much weaker than the United States. We need to defend ourselves. We need to defend our borders. With that, clearly, one aircraft carrier cannot be seen as being offensive. We need to protect ourselves.
No. It seems like nuclear balance type of and in the Cold War, so that kind of thing is you have nuclear missile, and I will take the military power, and its theory is described and end of the World War.
But that is easy to say if you are the one who have the most of the nuclear weapons. If you're at the other side of the equation, if you have less than the other side, would you still say that? If you would be threatened, if you could be threatened easily by the other side?
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the sort of increasing the India will make aircraft carrier, and other Iran might make a nuclear carrier, aircraft carriers, and Japan will.
I completely agree. I would immediately propose that we do not develop an aircraft carrier if the United States gives up their aircraft carriers and just retreats them from our shores. Then we will not develop an aircraft carrier. That's a promise. I think that's a better solution. I think we should bring this to a UN resolution.
But you say we have a negotiation, but you before the negotiation you make the base in the South China Sea.
It's our territory.
No.
Why can't we? It's for development. It's not a base.
No. It's not in the historical. You say historically.
We have radar systems there to
Ming Dynasty. No, it's not an international agreement. We cannot agree this kind of theory, and we have historical and from Ming Dynasty. 300 or 400 years before, let's know international. It cannot agree international agreements, and that we can.
Maybe there's not an agreement, and we are open for negotiations.
Yes.
We are open for win-win negotiations. So, but what we should not do is to build up military, to create rhetoric in the region, and hide behind the shoulders of the United States. What we should do is find peace within our own region, and make sure that Asia is for the Asians and not just a play ball for the United States. So we are ready to negotiate and to listen to each other and try to see if we can create win-win solutions here to move forward.
If you want a peaceful solution, you have to stop immediately making the base, making your leave, make a base, military base, immediately stop them.
Yeah, but that is not a negotiation. That is so are you already starting your negotiation, or
Yes,
or what?
yes.
I would say first let's lay the groundwork and then decide the rules upon which we are going to engage.
I think Japanese people need to study how to negotiate with Chinese government and Chinese diplomacy, and none of Japanese cannot make against opinion for them. And the Japanese people in Japanese, they speak a lot of opinion, but from my understanding, that all of the opinion bullshit at the standpoint of Chinese government or at the standpoint of American government, because negotiation is not like that. We have global protocol, how to communicate, how to against China. So Japanese people need to study. Japanese people say a lot of things, a lot of issues, like an analysis, but they never accept that. How are we going to force them to accept? This is we need to study. That's the one thing we are talking about. And also two issues. One is what is hegemony? Okay. How to against hegemony? This is basically a big discussion behind the scenes. But second is how to speak. Okay, not content. How to technique, how to persuade them. Two of those Japanese don't understand very well. They do not consider how to persuade those people. And if we have a power, we force them to eliminate everything, take them away. But we don't have power.
Well, it's not Japanese people cannot do that. It's just it works different in Japan than it works internationally.
Oh,
So
yes,
it just basically it's a different rules outside of Japan.
Right. So we need to study, right? So this is, I think, That I try to organize this session. This is the objective. And first answer is, okay, China grand strategy is peaceful. Of course, yes, this is peaceful. This is start point of negotiation. And negotiation, and also we need to consider for more carefully to study what is their grand strategy. And Japanese people, they don't study Chinese grand strategy in detail. What their concern, or always self-respect or self-side observation against China. So we need to think about what is China's grand strategy, and also, but also the same time we need to consider for American grand strategy and China grand strategy, American strategy. Then what we're going to do? It's always we should consider. It's the same as for doing business. The same. Okay. So I think today is time. Good discussion. Just we need another couple hours, but we don't have time. Okay. Thank you.